feel good when you got that money. All around the world you can spend that money like oh, 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 oh. That money, sweeter than honey. Make you feel good when you got that money. All around the world you can spend that money like oh, 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 oh.
Yes, it's enough to make your blood boil when someone owes you money or you're caught up in a dispute over a product or service. But have you considered all of the legal options, including one that's designed to be easy and cheap, and where you don't have to have a lawyer?
When a customer buys and we get paid, that's the ultimate moment. It's why we do what we do. And when it becomes uncertain if this moment will arrive, it really wears you down.
Many people don't know it, but numerous countries in Europe have what's known as a small claims procedure for disputes involving limited amounts ranging from 2,000 to 10,000 euros. There's also a European small claims procedure for cross-border disputes. In a country like Hungary, tens of thousands of people make use of the small claims process every year. But in fact, it's not just for consumers. Businesses can also benefit from it. And in these tough financial times, this could be particularly interesting for small companies chasing up unpaid bills. We travel to a wine company 150 kilometers south of Budapest. The owner knows only too well what it means for a company when money owed is not paid. After a bad experience some years ago, this family business was forced to get tough on how it deals with customers, some of whom are outside Hungary.
We sent an invoice to a buyer and he didn't pay. He disappeared for a while and it seemed likely he'd never pay for the order. So we spent a lot of time finding the middleman who originally put us in touch. And he forced the buyer to pay. But it was a huge problem at the time. Ever since we had this experience, we demand the money up front. So the buyer pays before the wine leaves the vineyard.
At the moment in Hungary, there are less than 100 cases of cross-border small claims every year. Officials say the procedure is not that well known and people have other options they can use. We spoke to a judge who says from his experience there's great demand for a quick delivery of judgments.
This
is true for private individuals and small companies alike. Most of them cannot afford not to have at their disposal even a small amount of money for many months, let alone years. The member states and the European Union have to provide quick and effective legal instruments for their citizens and their companies in this legal area.
There's a lot of work to be done in raising awareness about the small claims process, which experts say could increasingly move towards application forms being filled in online. And part of the push towards giving citizens more of a chance to achieve justice in monetary disputes is a planned reform of the European procedures. For example, how small is small? Brussels has been reviewing whether or not the €2,000 limit on cross-border claims should be substantially raised. And that's not all. To simplify even further the small claims process and to encourage more people to use it, several issues have been re-examined. For example, whether the application fee is too high, what documents should be provided, and whether more guidance is needed in filling in the forms. Proposals are due to be announced soon, and it's hoped they could also inspire similar changes to national procedures. But even if a judge rules in our favour, actually recovering the money that's owed is not that easy, and more expense and legal action might be required.
Ha valakinek van egy követelése, akkor hajlamos azt gondolni, hogy bírósági ítélet.
If people have a claim, they tend to think that by getting a court judgment, the problem will be solved. But in fact, they have to think ahead to enforcement problems, because having a judgment doesn't necessarily mean that they will get their money back. Enforcement can raise a lot of problems too. There can be two kinds of serious problems concerning a claim. Either a debtor does not want to pay or cannot pay.
It's really aggravating and depressing. It ruins your momentum. You can no longer work with the same enthusiasm when there are doubts over whether your work will produce a result. It takes a lot of discipline to start again after a failure, when there's a chance of such a fiasco happening. It's very difficult to start to work again and do a good job.
That money, sweeter than honey, make you feel good when you got that money.
Of course, a good outcome in a financial dispute is never guaranteed. But experts say taking the time to explore our legal options will greatly increase the chances of success.